Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Archie. If you saw last week's video, you should know that we spoke about how to lose weight. Well, in this week we got something special for you guys. We're going to be talking about how to actually put on muscle. I've noticed a lot of people in their late teens to mid-20s struggle with this concept. So we're going to dive into that today. Got our guest back here, the whiteboard. Going to be going over all that on there. To give you guys a descriptive detail on what hypertrophy is, why you need it and how that's actually relevant to muscle mass, muscle gain, and just overall improving your aesthetic. Alright guys, first we've got to realize there's 3 outcomes when it comes to strength training. Let's start off with HPT. Stands for hypertrophy. It's also had 2 other categories here, E and D and ST. Now, HPT stands for hypertrophy, E and D for endurance, and ST for strength. Essentially, if you as a person want to gain muscle, you need to focus on this bad boy up here, HPT. What I find is that a lot of people who are trying to put on muscle, when they go to the gym, their rep range, their rest time, their set amount, and their percentage of their 1 rep max focuses more on the ST and the E and D, especially the ST part, rather than HPT, which is exactly what you need to actually put on muscle mass. I'm going to explain this in a little bit more detail. Essentially in ST, you are focused on being at 90% to 100% of your 1 rep max. So what that means is if your 1 rep max is 120 kilos, you would be doing 1 to 3 reps of somewhere in the ballpark of 100 to 120 kilos. So how this could look like is 1 to 3 reps, and assuming your 1 rep max is 120, be doing 1 to 3 reps, 3 to 5 sets, and about 3 or more minutes of rest time between each one of these sets. Now, I've explained that. However, you need to completely forget about this. Don't worry about that. You know what? Screw this guy. What you guys really need to focus on is HPT up here, hypertrophy. That is what puts muscle. None of these two do. Endurance just helps you do the exercise for longer and build up more endurance. Strength just gives you more power. All right, cool. So how do you actually achieve hypertrophy in the muscles? Well, hypertrophy is based on the percentage of 60 to 85% 1 rep max range. So if you've got 120 kilo as your 1 rep max, you need to be going for 60 to 85%, which would look like somewhere in the ballpark of 70 to 90 kilos. That is the weight that you want to be using in your exercise. Now, in terms of reps, focus between 6 to 12 reps. Again, best for hypertrophy, 6 to 12 reps. You can push it to 14. I wouldn't recommend it. 6 to 12 is best. Now, as you're going lower down the rep range, so if you're doing 6, increase that weight up from 70 to the 90, or increase the percentage from 60 to 85. If you're going for the 12 reps up here, do 60% at 12 reps. Now, the sets, 3 to 4 is ideal. Some sources suggest 3 to 5. I personally like to go for 3 to 4. Now, what you'll find with this outlook is that you will essentially go from my little stick figure guy here to guy with massive arms, and you get swole basically. I need you to stick around though, because I got to mention the diet next. That's really important, because if you're doing all that but you're not feeling your body right, well then just don't bother watching the rest of the video. Alright guys, as promised, nutrition, or better yet, your D-I-E-T, diet. Your diet, if you're trying to gain muscle, can be broken down into 3 main protocols. First thing first, the elimination of fatty foods such as a well-known company, Mickey D's or McDonald's, whatever you want to call it. Stop eating stuff like that. Your next protocol is intake of high protein foods. It's your second one. And the third one, which you should already know if you've watched last week's video. If you haven't, go back and watch it. Is your BMR. So, how is all this relevant to your diet? Well, essentially, again, if you watched last week's video, you should know about this. I'm not going to explain it again. If you don't know what it is, go back, watch last week's video. Your BMR, say for example, it is 2000. Cool. Now, you need to do the opposite of what we discussed in last week's video, and you need to go into a caloric surplus. So, 3000 calories is what you should be eating, somewhere in that ballpark, give or take. If your BMR is 2000, you want to be eating about 3000. Now, essentially with the 3000 caloric surplus, again, you've got 1000 here, which is going to go into fueling your muscles. Moving on from that, you got to ask yourself, well, how do I achieve that caloric surplus? As in, what do I actually put into my body? And that's where we come to this. Elimination of fatty foods. Stop eating McDonald's. Stop eating KFC chicken wings, okay? It's not good for you. They're high fat, moderate protein, not what you want to be going for. So that's second bit, so elimination of the fatty foods. And then thirdly is intake of high protein foods, as we've already explained. Not to mention complex carbohydrates such as rice. Eliminate all those, aim for a caloric surplus whilst increasing your intake of complex carbohydrates and high protein foods such as steak, chicken, eggs, seafood, so on and so forth. If you follow this diet to a T and you aim for a caloric surplus and you also follow the hypertrophy model that I explained previously, you will find that you will gain muscle very quickly and very rapidly, much faster than you can imagine, but you gotta follow it. All right guys, I appreciate your time. Remember, if you have any questions or queries, whatever, just click that link down below to my Instagram, flick me a DM, I get back to everyone. I've also got a free workout plan coming up over the next few weeks. Again, completely free, no charge to you, available for you to use whenever you want, however you want. I appreciate it. My name's Benarchi. I'll see you guys next time.